This will be a meditation around reacting versus responding. We will start with a micro hit of feel rest. Go ahead and do that now. Turn on a dime and notice rest in the body that already exists. And also notice any tension that is present and see if you can release that tension and take all of your attention to rest in the body. And you can label it as such. Rest. I'm going to continue talking now and see if you can maintain contact with that rest in the background. So why we react versus respond? We all have a hardwired impulse to react quickly to anything that feels ultimately like a threat. Thinking takes time, and when a bear is charging at you, you don't have time to ponder how the bear might be feeling or why exactly you feel so afraid. You just leap to your feet and run to safety thanks to the finely tuned threat sensors that are baked into the machinery of your brain. In the modern world, we are rarely charged by bears. Instead, we mostly react to the threats, quote threats, that we detect in our relationships, any relationship. Things that make you feel hurt or bad about yourself or afraid of losing something or like your needs and desires are being thwarted in some way by the other person. Your reactions aren't just the natural consequences of what's happening, even though it can feel that way because they happen so fast. Instead, they're triggered by your unique inner world, and they're a window into the things that feel threatening or hurtful to you. One person may barely notice, example, if someone cuts them in line at the bank, while another could feel deeply disrespected and then stew in anger for the rest of the day. Reactions are fed by your expectations for the relationship, your past, the way you feel about yourself, the meaning you make out of your experiences, your anxieties, and many other factors. Noticing your reactions and getting curious about where they really come from is the first step in learning to respond rather than react. Check in real quick and see if you have managed to maintain contact with rest in the background. And if you haven't, it's all good. Just come in contact with it now and continue to listen to my voice. In your relationships, reacting might look like shutting down in a conflict rather than approaching the conversation with an authentic desire to understand the other person's perspective. It could also look like being quick to defend yourself against anything that feels like criticism or feeling hurt, angry, or resentful because of unmet expectations. It could also look like lashing out in a way to kind of hurt the other person for making you feel bad. Reactions like these are normal and understandable, but unfortunately, they can ruin relationships. If you tend to react with anger, that can damage the emotional safety in any relationship that you have. The other person may actually start avoiding conflict with you altogether, and ultimately, that leads to them developing resentments also. In some relationships, both people involved react automatically to each other, creating a reactive cycle that causes minor conflicts to escalate into horrible fights. Eventually, relations like these ultimately end up failing unless someone takes responsibility for changing the reactive dynamic of that relationship. So how to respond versus react. As you probably know, the opposite of reacting is responding. Sometimes this is called responsiveness. In a nutshell, being responsive in a relationship means being sensitive, understanding, and supportive of the emotions, desires, and concerns expressed by the other person. It means considering other possible interpretations for what's going on when you're feeling upset and being open to ones that give the other person, your conversational partner, the benefit of the doubt. Here's an extreme example of what it looks like to react instead of respond. If Mark calls Katie to cancel a date, she should react by screaming, "You don't care about me at all," and hanging up on him. Or she should respond by expressing how she feels and getting curious about Mark's experience. "I'm sad to hear that. I was really looking forward to seeing you tonight. Is everything okay?" she might say. Meanwhile, she could be talking to herself like this: "I'm feeling hurt. I'm telling myself a story about he doesn't care about me." But that may not be what's going on here. I'm going to check in with Mark and get more information. Obviously, the second response is going to do a much better job of nurturing the relationship. It expresses a vulnerable feeling rather than hostility, giving Mark an opportunity to connect with Katie emotionally rather than pushing him away. It acknowledges that Katie doesn't have all the information about why Mark is canceling their plans, rather than rushing to a negative judgment that he will feel the need to defend himself against. Katie is also expressing an interest in what's going on in Mark's life, rather than making the whole situation about herself. The last point is key. When you react, you turn the focus on your own experience, how you feel, how you see things, and what you think should be happening or not happening. When you respond, you're opening the door and allowing your partner space to share their feelings, perspective, needs, and expectations. Responding allows both of you to bring your stuff to the table and sort through it together with empathy and understanding. That is what nurtures relationships and allows them to grow. This is from a website called growingself.com. I thought this was a great article. Now check in and see if you were able to maintain rest in the background as I proceeded with that article. If you weren't, it's all good. It's a practice. It takes time. It requires effort early on, but it gets easier as you practice. Now let's shift. Turn on a dime. Bring attention to the body. Settle your breathing. Take a series of deep breaths, nice and smooth, about 5 to 6 seconds in, 5 to 6 seconds out. And see if as you do that, you can evoke a sense of appreciation and gratitude in the body. And with that, you can open your eyes and have a great day.